Kiyomizu-dera at sunset. Kyoto doesn't get more iconic than this. Tourists flock to the temple for the sweeping view and that soft orange glow draping the wooden terrace. But for us, it was the last battlefield. We'd followed whispers and half-clues all the way here, hoping to stop the final exchange of Mikumi's stolen scroll before it vanished from Japan forever. As we reached the terrace, the city stretched out below us in golden light, a place of calm that felt anything but calm inside my chest. Mikumi clutched her notebook, scanning the crowd with those determined eyes. Detective Sakamoto hung back a few steps, wearing his usual rumpled suit, no tie, like he always does. I leaned on the temple's wooden railing, camera in hand. My heart thumped louder than the chatter of nearby tourists.
If they make the deal here, in all this chaos, the police might lose them in the crowd.
We'll handle it. I've got my camera, and Sakamoto has backup. We can do this. Easier said than done. But one way or another, this was the endgame. We moved across the wooden platform, weaving through tourists, snapping selfies, and admiring the view. Sakamoto gave a subtle nod to some plainclothes officers near the entrance. He wanted them spread out, ready to pounce if we spotted the thieves. I raised my camera, playing tourist myself. On the surface, I was just another guy capturing the perfect sunset shot, except I wasn't aiming at the horizon.
Keep an eye out. Once we see them, we'll close in.
Then I saw them, two shadows slipping into the crowd at the far side of the terrace. The hooded figure kept his head low while his well-dressed accomplice clutched a familiar carved scroll case. My stomach tightened. This was it.
That's them.
She said it without a quiver in her voice, but I knew her heart was pounding as hard as mine. A third player, some well-heeled foreign buyer, approached them, envelope in hand. The accomplice lifted the scroll case, showing just enough of its ancient parchment to prove it was legit.
I trust everything's in order?
We have the scroll. Let's make this quick. Too many eyes around.
Perfect timing for a photograph, right? I lifted my camera, zooming in on the scroll. Click. One image could seal their fate in court. Detective Sakamoto signaled to his men, who began drifting in. But fate doesn't always wait for a perfect cue. I've got the shot, Detective.
Hold on. Let's make sure we get them all at once.
The foreign buyer handed over a thick envelope. The accomplice took a quick peek. Big money for sure. Then, from the corner of his eye, he spotted Sakamoto and realized they were surrounded.
Grab the scroll, go!
It's a trap. Police.
And, just like that, everything erupted. Tourists recoiled, gasping. The buyer tried to yank the scroll for himself. The accomplice held on tight. The hooded figure shoved a bewildered onlooker aside, ready to bolt. I dashed forward, camera swinging against my chest, while Mikumi sprang into action, blocking the hooded figure's path.
That scroll belongs to my family. You're not taking it.
He tried to shove her aside, but Mikumi refused to budge. In the scuffle, the scroll case slipped, tumbling onto the wooden floorboards. Time felt like it slowed to a crawl. The parchment threatened to spill out, and a random tourist's foot nearly stomped it. I lunged, ignoring the sting in my shoulder as I hit the deck, and caught the scroll case just in time. While I cradled the scroll, Sakamoto tackled the hooded figure near the balcony railing. The accomplice froze when he saw more plainclothes officers moving in. The foreign buyer dropped his envelope, yen scattering across the floor.
Kyoto police, don't even think about it.
The hood fell back, revealing the culprit's face, a mix of fury and panic. Officers swarmed, cuffing the criminals as they tried to protest. The stolen scroll was safe in my hands. Mikumi rushed over, her eyes brimming with relief.
It's here. It's safe.
We did it. A hush fell over the terrace as the sun dipped below the horizon. The police escorted the culprits away, while scattered tourists gawked at the aftermath. For once, everything felt complete. Mikumi carefully examined the old parchment inside the scroll case. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she managed a bright smile. Out of nowhere, Mikumi turned to me, cheeks flushed with emotion. Before I could say anything, she gave me a quick, shy kiss on the cheek. her face turning even redder afterward.
Thank you for everything. I'm sorry if, well,
My heart skipped a beat. A sweet, simple gesture that said what words couldn't. Relief, gratitude, maybe a bit more. She pulled back, covering her mouth in that classic Japanese embarrassment, eyes darting away. I could feel my own cheeks heating up. You're welcome. Detective Sakamoto strolled over, feigning ignorance of the sudden kiss, but the corner of his mouth hinted at a grin.
You both did good, even if you nearly gave me a heart attack. Your photos will be crucial in making these charges stick.
Thank you, Detective. It means so much.
Just doing my job. Keep that scroll safe, and no more amateur detective work, all right?
The sky lit up in a tapestry of oranges and reds. We stood at the terrace railing one last time, gazing over Kyoto as dusk settled in. The city lights began to glimmer, and somewhere below, the criminals were being carted away in squad cars.
My grandfather's legacy, it's home again.
Kyoto owes you, and you owe Kyoto. That's how it works, right? She laughed softly, her cheeks still a bit pink. And I felt something shift in the air, like the city itself was exhaling in relief. We'd done more than foil a crime. We saved a piece of this city's soul. And for me, well, let's just say I found something worth more than any photograph. As the last light faded, Mikumi and I stood side by side, the old scroll safely back in her hands, the flickering lights of Kyoto spreading out below us. Even with all the shadows we'd seen, I realized this place shone brighter for having people like her willing to protect what mattered. Kyoto's mysteries run deep, but every once in a while, if you dig through the shadows, you find a reason to believe in its beauty all over again. For Mikumi's family legacy, and maybe for my own heart, this was a story worth every risk.